Everyone, I'm Hamzah FreelancingWala, and I'm back with a wonderful foreign guest. So, as you guys know, we always have a new guest on our show. So, today I have the wonderful Mr. Gabe Gabrielle, a former NASA engineer and and a motivational speaker, and a passionate advocate for STEM education. So, let's start chit chat with him and let's get to know more about him. So, first of all, hello, Mr. Gabe. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much. Good evening to everybody in Pakistan. Good morning from here. It's just nine, a little after 9 here this morning. So I'm glad we got to do this. You and I talked a little bit about. I was a little late this morning because I was actually on the Space Center to see a rocket launch, and they're super cool. So I just got back, and now we're doing the interview.
Sure. Thank you so much for your interest and thank you so much for giving your time. So, what first sparked your interest in space and science?
I really I talk to people a lot about it because they think because you're at NASA or affiliated with NASA, you're automatically a scientist or you're automatically something. That's my phone, but I'm gonna ignore it.
Sure.
That's something that everybody's turn this off. Okay. Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
thinks because you're affiliated with them, you're automatically an astronomer or you're a scientist. But as an engineer, civil structural type of engineer, I really was never too interested in astronomy. I kind of like the idea of it, but not to get involved with it. And I was in the Air Force, and I was in Cocoa Beach, Florida, which is close to NASA, and I got to see the very first shuttle launch. And when I saw that shuttle launch, I'd never seen anything like it. It's just the most amazing thing. At that instant, I thought, well, this is something I think I'd like to do when I got out of the Air Force. So I got in NASA that way, and through that way, I got more interested in, astronomy and astrology. But I'm still not. I'm a fan, not an expert.
All right. So that's wonderful to know that you randomly got connected with and got the interest in astronomy. That's awesome to know. So what challenges did you face when you started to pursue towards this path?
To me, I really every day is a challenge. I challenge myself every day. It doesn't matter what I am, where I'm doing. When I was in the Air Force, out of the Air Force, NASA here, whatever I'm doing, every day is a challenge. The challenge to myself is to enjoy whatever I do, make it my favorite thing to do as I'm doing it. And what people don't understand, I like to do this, I don't like to do that. Well, you choose not to like to do something. You can train your mind to like everything. And the challenge for myself is always to enjoy what I do. To do three things: do my best, do your best, enjoy what you do, believe in yourself. These are three things critical to me to having a very happy, carefree life. No stress, no pressure, and never the work hard mentality. One of the things I try to do, and I really welcome the opportunity to do the interview. I enjoy doing one-on-one conversations. I really enjoy these things, and I want you at the end of this interview, and you, and hopefully everybody listening, to do the same thing the same way. I just want you to think about it differently. Never think hard work. Never think hard. Never think work. Think challenge, opportunity, adventure. Make it fun. Put it a positive, fun thing in your mind to do it, and then enjoy doing it. Anybody can do something. Can you enjoy it? That's the biggest challenge. And with that, you want to have a strong belief in yourself. A strong belief in yourself is so important no matter what you do. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as this progresses.
Sure. We'll definitely talk about that. Thank you so much for your insightful answer. It's really, and thank you so much for empowering me and my audience. So, during difficult times while pursuing this path, what is the thing that kept you motivated to keep on pursuing this path or keep on going?
I never had difficult. I had challenging events. One of the challenges I had when I was doing this, I actually started university very late in life, 12 years after high school. So I had a full-time job, and I was married with kids, and I was trying to go to school at night. So I was majoring in math and science, and you had a lot of classes that had like a chem class. So you had chemistry, and you had a chem lab. Well, it was hard to get these labs at night. So it really was a challenge to try to fit in all of the different requirements in a time frame available for me to try to meet them. But I managed to do it. It was a great sense of accomplishment, and I love a challenge. So when someone says it's difficult to me, it's just more fun. Because when you overcome that, you get a great sense of accomplishment. And I think that's what we understand. If you learn to challenge yourself and overcome that challenge, you feel so good that you did that. It fuels you to do more. And the more of that you do, the more belief and confidence you get in yourself. And this is critical in life. You want to learn to believe in yourself. It's very important, and be confident in yourself. It doesn't mean you think you're better than others. It just means you feel good about yourself. And when you do that, you stand up taller, you smile more, you project that confidence subconsciously. And that's where we want to be. We want to feel good about ourselves and our decisions. And we never make a wrong decision. Never. You know, it's a learning experience. And things go better when they don't go as expected. So you also learn not over to only overcome that challenge, but you learn, hey, I overcame this one, I can overcome the next one. And you want to build that. And one day you'll say to yourself, I can do anything. When you believe you can do anything, you'll never have stress. You'll never have pressure. You can be very successful. A lot of people say, well, manage your stress. I said, get rid of it. Why do you need it? It's a state of mind.
Yep, that is true. Thank you so much for your well-defined answer. So now moving towards your NASA experience, what was it like working at Kennedy Space Center?
Oh, for me, it was just the most amazing thing. And I never say work. It was the most adventurous thing I've ever done in my life. I really hadn't thought about it too much, but after I saw that shuttle launch, I thought about it a lot more when I was applying for the job. I was lucky to get the position, really lucky, and it's just magical place. Everywhere if you like space and if you like stars and if you like powerful ships, and to me, I like that kind of thing. So it fit into my likes a lot. And everywhere I looked on Kennedy Space Center, there's pictures of the stars, there's pictures of the solar system. Your mind is constantly going to these magical places, and then you see a big building, a ship is put together, goes to a launch pad, and it goes to these magical places. So your imagination becomes reality. It's just so much fun for me. And the launches, I went to this launch this morning. It was SpaceX Falcon 9, small, much smaller than the shuttle launches, but the shuttle launches were spectacular in that they literally shook the earth. So when you're waiting this thing take off, your body was shaking. The power was unreal.
Yep, that is true. So it means that if you want to know more about space, you have to be into astronomy, because space for us is just the planets orbiting around the sun and the solar system.
Yeah, and that's a very good observation. Yeah, but if you're interested, you'll get past that. And I don't know that you have to be into astronomy so much as uh, I don't really say I'm an astronomer, or I just like the stars and I like the sky, and maybe that fits into a certain class of astronomy. But I don't know a lot about astronomy other than I think it's fascinating. But for me, most of it is beyond my comprehension. They talk about stars or planets or solar system being a million or a billion light years away. Well, one light year is 10 trillion kilometers, and you multiply that by a billion. That's my mind can't really. It's just fun to think about, but I really can't rationalize it like I can with an engineering problem.
Yep, that's true. That's true. Thank you so much for telling that clarified answer. So, can you describe a typical day as a NASA engineer? What would be the routine?
Yeah, well, when you say engineer, you have to understand that's a really broad term. You can be an engineer and do so many different things, but a design engineer is someone who's involved in designing buildings for usage by a certain type of function. So normally, as a design engineer, there's different disciplines. There's civil, structural, mechanical, electrical, architectural. All of these different disciplines of engineers sit down together. They get a requirement. We got 100 people. This is their job. This is what they have to do. You know, design something for them to work in. So you, as a team, you collectively sit down and try to figure out what's the best way to provide, adequate space for these people. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into figuring it out. So you all do that. You come up with a set of construction drawings, which goes out to contractor to get bid, and it gets built. So it's kind of fun to do that. Plus, you're dealing with a lot of different type of engineers, so you learn a lot from each other. My job was a little bit different. I was what was called a project programmer, and basically I programmed money to fix things that were not working. So I was responsible for bridges, air conditioning systems, roofs, elevators, things like that. So I might go into work one morning and and then maybe there's an elevator problem or a bridge problem. Depending on problems exist. Hey Gabe, this bridge isn't working. Go figure out why. So I would go to the bridge, talk to the bridge tender, the person to operate the bridge. Hey, why isn't this thing working? So we got to figure that out. Okay, how do we fix it? That was another thing that was fun to do. And the third thing, well, how much does it cost? Put it in a budget to get funded. So it was kind of unique what I did in that capacity. Normally, you're assigned to a design team, but in this role I had, it was awesome because I got to go to every building on Kennedy Space Center, all the launch complexes, everywhere they were assembling the ships, everything I got to see firsthand. So it was, oh, every day was fun, every day was magic. And my life is that way now. Every day when I wake up, I know I'm going to have fun. I know I'm going to have fun because I challenge myself to enjoy it and not let things take away from that enjoyment. If you know things aren't going so well, you could say to yourself, could be worse. If you have a could be worse mentality, you never have a negative because you always think it could be worse. I'm lucky. And that's the way I try to approach things.
Yep, that's a really positive approach of yours. Thank you so much for sharing your approach on that. So, what is one moment at NASA you would never forget?
Yeah, for me, it's the shuttle launches. There's many things that happen at Kennedy Space Center and at NASA, but I always like the shuttle launches. The shuttle launches to me, and I saw maybe 50 or 60 of them. I don't even know how many, but I saw as many as I could. So even though you saw this thing over and over, it's totally different each time. It's really interesting how your mind can function, even though it was looked exactly the same, it was different, and it was always exciting. But as I mentioned to you before, so the space shuttle, it has what's called 3 million kilos of lift, which means to go up, you have to push down with 3 million kilos, and this thing is very heavy. And if you fly on a plane, you get on a passenger terminal goes to a runway, you take off horizontally. But before you take off, they lock the brakes, they build up engine power, then they take off. Well, the space shuttle does the same thing, but it's taking off vertically, and it's got 3 million kilos of push lift pushing on the ground. So we're about 5 kilometers away. You really can't see it. You really can't hear it. But you know where it is, and you're looking in that direction, and you're waiting and waiting, and really exciting. Everybody's jumping up and down, waiting, anticipation. Then all of a sudden, you get this vibration in your feet. It's so powerful. It's literally shaking the earth. It's trying to take off, but it's locked down, and it literally shakes the earth. So you got this vibration in your feet and your body. It's just amazing. And all the cars feel it because cars have alarms when somebody's trying to break in. Alarm goes off. So all the cars, the horns are honking, lights are flashing, sirens are going off, and your body is shaking. And when this thing takes off, it's just super cool. It goes really slow, makes a turn, and it's gone. And you're watching it. It's just amazing. You're fixed on it. You still don't hear anything. Then all of a sudden you hear it, but you're looking there, you hear it there. It goes so fast, it leaves the sound behind. So it plays mind games with you. So your body is jumping around, your mind is going crazy. It's just so much fun.
Yep, that's true. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. So, looking back at your childhood, what would you say to your childhood? Like, if you see a difference in yourself right now that you wished you had in your childhood, what are the three words or phrases you would say to your younger self and why?
Yeah, so one of the things I talked about is how much I hated school. I really hated school. When kids tell me they hate school, as you think you hate school, I hated school more. I really hated school. So it was my choice to look at it in a negative way. And I've learned about the choice. So if I could go back and do anything differently, I would apply myself better in school.
All right, that's really contextualized. Thank you so much for telling this contextualized answer. So, what did working at NASA teach you about teamwork? Because obviously, there's no work without having a team.
Yeah, so I knew a lot about teamwork before I got to NASA, and for me, I love sports, and I talked about hating school, but I love sports. So when I was in school playing sports, I liked being in school. But one of the things I like most about sports, and it teaches you about team, that everybody is equal, that you have a common goal. There's so much that can be learned from sports mentally as well as physically, and the mental lessons you learn in sports, and having a team, and each one. One of the things I talk about on any team, nobody is more important. Every person is equally important, and everyone has a function. So somebody's got to lead the team. That's that function. Somebody's got to do whatever. Each one of you collectively does your own part. You're all going to be successful. But everyone is equally important. That was always something I stressed as a leader. You want everybody on your team to feel equal. In decision making, I always encourage everybody, hey, look, we got this process. What's your input? This is what I think. What do you think? Try to get everybody involved in the decision making process, make everybody feel equally important because reality we are. And so, team, I really stress teamwork a lot, and it doesn't matter. Me and you right now, we're a team, right? We're a team, and we're equal. I can't do this without you. You can't do it without me. And actually, to me, you are more important if somebody has to be important. You're leading the discussion, you're formulating the questions. So I'm reacting to what you do. And one of the things I learned in being a speaker, which is amazing, and doing many interviews, to me, the person doing the interview is more important than the person being interviewed. And a good person doing the interview can make the interview so much better. And someone who's, you're critical. But I love the team concept, and I love the team concept in that everybody is equal. Nobody is more important.
All right. Thank you so much for your relevant answer. I really loved it. So basically, teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes, yes, yeah. Without, to me, we are never without support of others, and the best leader uh, can get others to do more than they normally would because they wanted the team to be successful. But as a leader, you have to get that involved. That's why I said you want everybody involved in the decision-making process, and it doesn't matter. And if you really want to find out how you're doing, uh, you'll go down to the lowest person and ask them, "How do you like your job here? What would you change? What do you think you could make things better?" And you would be surprised what you could learn from that person.
All right, that's great to know. Thank you so much for sharing. So, as a team leader, or you can say a part of the team lead, so when you receive so many opinions from the team members, like to do this or this suggestion or this and that, so what is the key way to just immediately to get to know and straightly get to the like the final decision?
Yeah, well, one of the most challenging things in the world is dealing with people. Everybody has a thought process. Everybody has a different way of looking at things, and to me, first of all, you want to take the time to look through others' eyes and try to understand why they think the way they do. You don't have to agree with it, but you have to be able to understand their thought process, to me, in order to get them to deviate it from a little bit. And what you're saying is a great question. It's reality for you at this time in your life to understand. This is something that happens a lot. You can't get people to agree. So one of the things I always tried to do was talk to everybody individually. What do you like? What don't you like? And then get to know people really well. And then when you have this collective meeting, as the leader, you have to direct people. Okay, first of all, break things into little processes. Little steps are easy to accomplish. Little steps are easy to agree on. So you start. Look, we're here. We got to go there. We got to plan how we're going to get there. So
Yep.
this is where I see us going from here to here. Anybody else want to add something? So it takes time, but you get everybody's input, but you guide it. You kind of direct it. You try to get people to think your way, and think it's a good idea because you've taught them why you think the way you do, but you understand the way they think they do. Being a leader to me it's a challenge. It's probably one of the biggest challenges in the world because you're dealing with so many different personalities and so many different thought processes, and you want to make everybody feel equal. That's the challenge.
Yep, that is true. That is true. Thank you so much for clarifying on this point. So, moving towards STEM and education. Why is STEM education so important today?
So I stress STEAM and not STEM. I don't know if you know the
Oh,
difference. STEAM
I
has an A.
don't
No, but most people are still reverting to STEM. But I've always liked STEAM. One reason I have a very good friend who's a dancer, and she taught me about it. She taught me about getting arts involved in math and science, and that's where the A comes from. STEAM. It stands for arts. And when you include arts, you get a whole different type of audience with you. You get a whole different set of, you know, engineers, scientists who tend to look at things a certain way, follow rules and formulas, but artists look at everything. Artists bring everything into it. So when you combine the arts with the math and science, you get a much different perspective, and you get, I think, a much better way of opening up outside the maybe the box a little bit. So I always talk about STEAM, but for me, it's not necessarily referred to in as just science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. To me, it's a thought process that everybody, regardless of their goals or their dreams, can apply. And you know, if you like math, if you like science, if you like this type of stuff, STEM is great. If you like the arts, then you're more into STEAM. But maybe there's something that doesn't really fit in either one of those. That doesn't mean you don't can't benefit from the STEAM process. To me, it's about building confidence, learning to develop your interest, and chasing your dreams and your goals. And so I love it because it's a way of, to me, of making learning fun. And actually, it was brought about in the beginning in America because kids were doing so poorly in math and science. And the U.S. government said, how can we get the kids more interested? So they came up with a STEM at the time, which just to get kids more interested in it. And and again, now it reverted to STEAM. But basically, it's a process to me that gets you interested in learning how to do the things you want to do. And if you're good in math and science, one of the reasons I went to university, I like to race cars. And I got out of high school and I was working at McDonald's and driving trucks and doing all kinds of fun things, but I couldn't generate an income. And one day I was playing sports and a guy said to me, "Hey, did you ever think about becoming an engineer?" And I don't know why he said that. I have no idea, but I never thought I could because I did so poorly in school. I didn't think I was smart enough. I think you had to be super smart. But I'd met a lot of people who'd been to university, and I realized they weren't so smart. If they could do it, so could I. So I went into STEM or STEAM to generate income. You can get better paying jobs if you're good in math and science than some of the others. So for me, it was strictly a motivational event was to generate income so I could race cars.
Yep, that's good to know. Thank you so much for addressing your, like, you can say, your love for racing cars. So what skills should young students focus on at this early age?
Well, I think, you need goals. I think if you don't have a goal, and I don't think you're ever too young to have a goal or a dream. Uh, but why do I get up in the morning? Why do I go to school? Why do I want to do well? If you don't really have an answer for that, there's the incentive isn't so good. But if so, I talk to people all the time, and if you know what you want to do, you are very lucky. I have a twin sister. At 3 years old, she knew she wanted to be a teacher. So her life course was easy. She knew she had to go to high school, university, teachers college. It was easy for her to do it because she knew what she wanted. I never knew, and it's very difficult to do something when you don't know what it is. And people are always asking you, "What are you going to do?" Well, if you don't know, there's no way to answer that question. So I always say, try to ask yourself, what would be the most fun thing to do every day? Ever get up and I'm going to go to do this. What would be the most fun thing? And say to yourself, this is what I want to do. I need to go to school in order to do this. I need to do this in order to do this. Plan the steps to accomplish that goal. And more than likely, along that path, something will click. You don't know why, you don't know how, but all of a sudden you're going to know what you want to do, and then you just head in that direction. But to me, it's very important to have goals and long and short term goals.
All right, that's wonderful to know. Thank you so much for giving your well experted answer. So, thank you so much, Mr. Gabe Gabriel, for giving your precious time. I really loved chit chatting with you and getting to know about your interests. So, thank you so much for joining on Wide and Inspired. Lastly, I would like to get your feedback. What did you think about the interview, about the questions? In your opinion, how was it?
Was excellent. I really enjoyed it very much. The questions were good. The way you presented them was good. Your English and your speaking is excellent. So all of those things, your voice carries well. It was really, really good, and I enjoyed speaking with you. I could tell you were listening, and one of the things I like about the kids, most of the kids from Rehan School, is they're not just going through the motions. You're not just asking a question just to fill a stare. Most everybody you can see them listening and evaluating. And I know sometimes I give long answers, but I try to explain why I think the way I do.
Yep, that's true. You do explain. You sometimes you have to explain the way you do. Yes. Thank you so much for joining on Wide and Inspired, Mr. Gabe Gabriel. I really appreciate your precious time once again. So yes, everyone, he was our guest, Mr. Gabe Gabriel, a former NASA engineer. So I really enjoyed chit chatting with him and getting to know a lot about him. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys with another guest. Till then, stay wired to be inspired. Allah Hafiz.